We learned that mitochondria is plural. That's true, as opposed to mitochondrion. There are other ones that bother me more than that one. I hate the way that people use alumni just without any, like, alumni is plural. We all know that, right? Alumnus is the singular. Now, it's fine to Americanize plurals. I think that's good, actually, right? Totally reasonable to say alum or alums. But what annoys me is when people mix them, when people say, like, alum and alumni, or even worse, when they say alumnus and alums. It's so messed up, man. What about moose? That's the singular and plural? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not talking about problems in languages. I'm talking about problems in the ways that people use language. Data versus datum? I mean, that's fine. It's not like you've got people saying datas to pluralize data. And the way that people use data is mostly as a bulk noun, which, like, makes sense to be plural anyway. People would often say, like, a data point to talk about the singular datum. But when they say data, they're usually speaking in the plural anyway, so it doesn't really bother me, right? I mean, you can have all kinds of criticisms of how language works, how English is spelled. Certainly a lot of people do. It's been pointed out a lot that, like, OUGH can be pronounced as any number of sounds in English. It's not very, very consistent, but this isn't what bothers me. What bothers me about alum versus alumni, it's the same thing that bothers me when people use I too much. It's when people are trying to be more correct than the average person and are therefore less correct. That's what annoys me. It's not the language being weird, and it's not people not knowing the correct usage of the word. Neither of those things bothers me. It's when someone is like, look what a good and special boy I am. When someone speaks in a way that's like, where they're trying to sound smart, and so they use I in, like, every case. Because there's such a fuss made, especially when we were kids, about, like, so-and-so and I are going to the store, right? Instead of, like, so-and-so and me are going to the store. Because there was so much of a fuss made about that, now people overcorrect, and they'll go like, oh, are you gonna go to the store with so-and-so and I? That annoys me. That annoys me. That's the one that actually annoys me so much. That one makes me insane. I always have to correct it, and I don't correct it because they're wrong about something. That's fine. You can be wrong about something. But when you're, like, loudly and obnoxiously trying to be righter about something, that annoys me. That annoys me. So it's like when people pluralize to alumni, but they're pluralizing alum and not alumnus as alumni, that annoys me, you know? Ellie giving the one guy's rage bait ammunition. When people say, like, oh yeah, I would like so much for you to come with so-and-so and I, and it's like, would you like for me to come with I? No, you would like for me to come with me. So you would like for me to come with so-and-so and me. It's not even that complicated. If you're speaking English and you speak imprecisely, that's good, that's fine, that's part of colloquial English. I love to do things that aren't technically grammatically correct, but, like, lend flavor to what I'm saying and how I talk, and they're fun to say, and they're cute and they're funny, right? That stuff is all good. But it annoys me endlessly when people are like, look, I'm being extra correct and smart. Aren't I such a good writer? Look what just don't be snobbish. I don't know. Like, if you're gonna try and do better than everybody, if you're gonna be like, so, like, yes, I really understand the language, at least actually understand it, you know? Proper speaking is about classism too. It is. Which is, about classicism too. Well, okay, it's actually about both in kind of interesting and different ways. If you're saying proper speaking is about classism, it certainly is, right? One of the ways that people signal class to each other, one of the ways that class is indicated is by, right, the quality of education you got, who you learned to speak around, how you learned to speak, and there are certain patterns of speech that you are much more likely to use and much more likely to understand depending on your class. I don't think this is really one of them. I went to a very, very fancy little private school. People did this wrong about the same amount. I don't think that this is that class related, this particular error. Classicism, though, it is related to. There was a drive at some point within understandings of how we should be speaking English and thinking about English to make English work more like Latin, because Latin is elevated, because Latin is, right, the language of Rome, right? So there was this push to make English work more like Latin, to make English grammar work more like Latin, and it's made the language more confusing, and while it's not used as much now, also what is deemed as proper language is a class thing. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, telling someone that their dialect of a language is not the proper language is excluding their dialect from the language itself, you know? I originally learned AAVE as well, but I've also heard Black Vernacular English used to describe it. But right, like, if you're willing to accept the British English as like legitimate and just a different way to speak English, but still correct and legitimate, but you're not willing to accept AAVE or Black Vernacular English or whatever you call it, then yeah, then you're just being a dork and a dweeb. And it really has nothing to do with making sure that we standardize language, and it has everything to do with who you think should be included in the definition of proper, you know? You have no idea what Black Vernacular English is. So if you think about, are you American? I'm trying to think of like a good example of a character who speaks a lot in this style who would be famous overseas. Oh yeah, if you've seen the Boondocks, right? It's not people not knowing how to speak classroom English. It is a different dialect of English with its own history. It draws its linguistic roots from West African languages that people were speaking when they were brought to America in the slave trade. And it draws, at this point, influence just from developing separately in separate communities, right? So not quite slang? No, it is a dialect with its own separate grammar rules, right? So an interesting example of a difference in grammar rules is that you can actually say things in AAVE that you can't say in classroom English, right? She workin' versus she be workin' is a distinction that doesn't actually exist in classroom English. So you might think like, oh, why would you use be instead of is? That's not how you use that verb, but it's actually a very different use of the verb, and it has a separate meaning. So she working doesn't specify a time that she is working within, right? Or it does. I'm sorry. Obviously, this is not my dialect. I am white. But be working versus working has different meanings. Habitual be is the name of it. Thank you so much. As a grammar rule, she be working is just like, that's what she does. That's what she gets up to. She's working a lot, habitually, right? She's working. Whereas she working means she's working right now, right? So if you want to know like, oh, how's your mom? She be working, right? Would mean that. And if I'm getting this wrong, please tell me. Please tell me. I do not want to get this wrong. I can't know everything about this, nor can I even know very much about this. Chad is also disproportionately white. Yeah, statistically probably. But the point is, you always come to Ellie streams to learn. This is so cringe. I am embarrassed at myself. But the point is, the point that I want everyone to know, at least, is that it is not just slang. It is a separate dialect with its own grammar, and some of that grammar is useful in ways that classroom English isn't, which means that we're sometimes losing information by telling people not to use their dialects in a classroom setting or in an academic setting, right? Yeah, y'all is very widespread at this point. I say y'all, and I mean, I'm very white. And it denies identity, and it can be harmful for their performance in early childhood. If someone grows up speaking a dialect and then they're not allowed to use that dialect, or they're told that dialect is wrong, they're suddenly at a disadvantage in school because they have to be learning a whole new dialect and a whole new set of grammar rules while other kids don't. And, it's just overall, how do we decide whose language is worthy of classrooms and whose isn't?